Hello, welcome to Microfiche Microphone. I'm Micah, and on this channel we look at microfiche from the past, old newspaper articles in the public domain. We look at them with our modern eyes, our modern perspective, and see what we can learn from them. On this microfiche time capsule, we are looking at the Juvenile Instructor from the 1st of December 1901. And this is the last of our Lives of Our Leaders series. This one is called Lives of Our Leaders, the Presiding Bishopric, Orrin, Porter, Miller. So the Lives of Our Leaders series went through all of the First Presidency, the Quorum of the 12, the Presidency of the 70, Presiding Patriarch, and the Presiding Bishopric. And the thing is, though, the last person we looked at from the Presiding Bishopric was John R. Winder. And as I noted in the video on him, that he was called immediately after the publication of that article into the first presidency. So because of that, they needed a new second counselor in the presiding bishopric. So that's what this person is about. He was called to replace John R. Winder as the second counselor in the presiding bishopric. His name is Orrin P. Miller. So let's take a look. I know absolutely nothing about this person. Nothing. So let's take a look. It'll be a surprise to all of us. I don't even recall having heard his name terribly often, so let's find out. Bishop Orrin Porter Miller, second counselor in the presiding bishopric of the church, was born in Mill Creek, Salt Lake County, Utah, September 11th, 1858. He is the son of the late Bishop Reuben Miller and his wife Ann Craner Miller. Was Mill Creek named after him, or was there just a mill on a creek? Just throwing that out there. I mean, it could have been named after his father, Reuben Miller. Yeah? I don't know. It's just a question. Question mark. Orrin was baptized by Elder F. M. Guest, June 16th, 1867, at age 9. Yeah? I guess he was 8 3/4. He was ordained a priest December 9th, 1877, 10 years later, so he was 19, by his father. Was ordained an elder November 6, 1881, at age 23, by Elder Alexander Hill, when he joined the 13th Quorum of Elders of the Salt Lake Stake of Zion. On February 10, 1884, he was ordained a 70 by President Enoch B. Tripp of the 33rd Quorum, of which quorum Brother Miller became a member. Okay. Brother Miller married Miss Elizabeth M. Morgan of Mill Creek on November 10, 1881. The ceremony was performed in the Endowment House, Salt Lake City, President Daniel H. Wells officiating. At age 23, I think. That's right. In July 1882, at age 24, Bishop Reuben Miller died of paralysis. Okay, that is a symptom. That is not a cause of death. But, doesn't sound fun either way. So he was paralyzed, I'm guessing a stroke? Just a guess. After the settling up of the estate, his son Orrin moved to Riverton, where, under the provisions of his father's will, he had become the owner of 80 acres of land. How did his father own 80 acres of land? But I guess it's possible. Riverton was, at that time, 1882, a portion of the South Jordan Ward. Shortly after, it was given a branch organization, and Brother Miller was appointed its president. Okay. So he became branch president in this little area that he lived in. The branch grew into a ward and was organized August 8, 1886, when Brother Miller was ordained a high priest and bishop and set apart to preside over the same. Okay, he was 28? That's pretty young to be bishop, but of course not unheard of. At the time of the division of the Salt Lake Stake into the Salt Lake, Granite, and Jordan stakes, they split one stake into 3. That must have been a really big stake. Bishop Miller was chosen to preside over the last named, Jordan stake, He was set apart to this responsible office by Elder Francis M. Lyman of the Council of the Apostles, January 21st, 1900. Oh, that was recently to this article. Okay, so then he was 42, 42, he was called as stake president. Wow, did they just skip a whole bunch, or is it just me? 1886 until 1900. I guess he was bishop in that time. That is a long time to be bishop. The people had callings for so long back then. and was given elders Hiram Goff and James Jensen as his counselors. When the first presidency of the church was reorganized after the death of President Lorenzo Snow, and Bishop John R. Winder was chosen as first counselor to President Joseph F. Smith, Brother Miller was called to fill the vacancy in the presiding bishopric. This choice was made at a meeting of the First Presidency and 12 Apostles held in the Salt Lake Temple, Thursday, October 24th, 1901. Wait a second. They said the meeting of the First Presidency and 12 Apostles. Was the presiding bishop not there? Does that mean that the presiding bishop is not allowed to choose his own counselor? That's a little crazy. Startling. Like, whoa, really? Okay. Brother Miller was set apart the next day, and President Joseph F. Smith being mouth. Brother Miller has also been prominent in business and political circles. In 1887, he became a member of the County Central Committee of the People's Party. He also served one term on its Territorial Central Committee. For 6 years, he acted as Deputy Registrar under the notorious Utah Commission. In 1889, he became a member of the Board of Commissioners for Salt Lake County. After the political division of the people of Utah on national party lines, Brother Miller was elected in July 1891, a member of the First Democratic Territorial Central Committee. He has also been an officer in several canal and other companies connected with the best interests of the people. In the South Jordan Canal Company, he was appointed April 16, 1898, a director to fill the unexpired term of C.E. Weiler. On the 31st of October following, he was elected a director on November 5th, its vice president. He served at one time in connection with Bishop E.F. Sheets and elders John Nicholson and L. John Nuttall by appointment of the First Presidency as a member of a board of arbitration to consider and decide on questions in which the water rights of the people of Deseret, Millard County, were involved. I wonder why he was involved. That's interesting. Water rights? It didn't sound like he had anything to do with water rights at the time, so I don't know. It seems kind of random. Bishop Miller has been highly successful in the breeding and care of livestock. His ability and integrity of this direction have long been recognized. From 1886 to 1900, he acted as bishop's agent in the collection of hay, grain, etc. from all the wards in the south end of the Salt Lake County. Well, that was on top of his job as bishop, right? Because that's quite a big job. In the fall of 1897, he was appointed a special agent to look after the church sheep, and it is highly probable that in his present calling much of his time will be devoted to the superintendence of the church's livestock interests. As a Latter-day Saint, Bishop Miller is strong in the faith, to use his own words. I rejoice in the gospel and the testimony of Jesus, and I have accepted in my heart every principle revealed through the prophet Joseph Smith, and have been greatly blessed of the Lord in my ministerial labors. Well, that's a lovely testimony. I liked that. So, he has a strong testimony. And he's also quite young, especially compared to the other people we were looking at so far. I mean, the last couple we've been looking at, they were both over 80. They were born in the 1820s, and this person was born in 1858. He's in his 40s at this point, which is really crazy to think about, He's like mid-40s. Crazy, but I don't feel like, so I feel like there's not as much to say because he's so much younger than, some of the other people we've looked at. Orrin P. Miller. People usually, when they hear the name Orrin Porter, they think of Orrin Porter Rockwell. That was definitely a person in the past, but he was more connected to Joseph Smith. This was much later than that. So in case you recognize the name, wow, this is a really short article. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, he didn't live very long. Okay, Orrin Porter Miller, September 11th, 1858 to July 7th, 1918. He only lived to age 60. That's kind of a short life. I mean, I feel like if I lived to age 60, that's definitely not as long as I was counting on. Was a member of the Presiding Bishopric of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS Church, from 1901 to his death. Born in Mill Creek, Utah Territory, Miller was a local leader in the church prior to his call as a general authority. He became the bishop of the newly created Riverton Ward in Salt Lake City in 1886. Yeah, they mentioned that. Prior to serving as a bishop, he had been an elder at a 70 in the church, also mentioned that. In 1900, when the Salt Lake stake of the church was divided in two, they were divided in three, so that's incorrect. Miller was selected as the first president of the new Jordan stake. At least that part's true. In 1901, Miller was selected as the second counselor to presiding Bishop William B. Preston. Miller was replacing John R. Winder, who had earlier been asked to become a member of the first presidency of the church. Miller served as Preston's counselor until Preston resigned due to ill health in 1907. Yeah, but he died like 6 months later. Like, he really did have ill health, yeah. Charles W. Nibley became the new presiding bishop, and he asked Miller to become his first counselor. Oh, that's interesting. Miller served as Nibley's first counselor until he died of stomach cancer in Salt Lake City at the age of 59, yeah. Okay, well that explains his early death. Cancer can get you at any time, yeah? And especially back then, they had 0 treatments for it. You know, you have cancer, you're going to die. I'm sorry, but it's going to happen. And that's really sad. But, okay. I feel like there's not a lot of stories about, like, anything that he did or how he felt about anything. So I feel like there's not as much insight into him as a person as we normally have. By the way, I have been criticized for using Wikipedia as a source to fact check myself, but the reason why is, number one, Wikipedia uses multiple sources, is a general rule, and so it is more reliable than using the single source I'm using as historical source. Number two is, this is not a term paper. I am not getting this published. I'm not printing it in a book. So I don't really feel the need to do tons of research. I'm just getting a second source of the information, and I feel like Wikipedia does a good job with that. So if you have a problem with that, then I suggest you do your own research. Yeah? Anyways, so that's just my rant of the day. But like, as far as Orrin P. Miller and who he was as a person, I feel like in order to have all of those callings at such a young age, he seems to be very willing to work. Like, he must be quite a hard worker, because I know that there are times when I get a calling and I'm thinking just like, wow, that's a lot of work. Do I really want to put myself through that? And you kind of do it a little bit reluctantly. And you know what you don't do? You don't get asked to do it again, you know? So, I feel like if you're asked to do more and more, like, more responsible things, then it's because you did a good job on the previous one. That's just my opinion, but I find that really interesting. Also, that he was called again after he could have been released when the original presiding bishop who called him passed away, or, well, he resigned first and then he passed away. And but instead, he was called as the first counselor to the next presiding bishop. So they kept him on as a counselor. So he must have been doing a good job. I mean, that's the only conclusion I can reach. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep calling him over and over to doing the same things. Oh, man. Died in 1918. That's so young to me. And is it because I am... It's because I think mostly I've been talking about people who died very old, like they were all in their 80s plus, or not all, but like most of them. But catching one who died not ridiculously young, like, you know, Abraham O. Woodruff or something like that, who was like, I think he was 32, but instead you're dying at like mid-age, I would say, probably close to average at the time, but I don't know. It just seems very young to me because it's not in his 80s. He never made it to 80. He didn't even quite make it to 60. You know, I just find that pretty sad. Anyways, but yeah, that's all the insights I have right now. If I find a more detailed article on this person, maybe I'll make another video. But as it is right now, this is very scarce as far as details go. Anyway, but I hope you enjoyed that anyway and gained some insights into Orrin P. Miller. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next video.